So what do you do when you're a little concerned that your 8-foot tall, 42-inch wide, bright red entrance door doesn't stand out enough? Well, you add a bunch of fancy trim, of course. In this video, I'm going to show you how I went about making the turned finial, if you like, for the top, and the curved reeded sections on the shaper, and lastly, the ledge on the intermediate rail. So if that's something that interests you, stick around and I'll show you how I went about it. Okay, so to begin with, I need to dress a piece of material for the turned finial. I've got a really gnarly old piece of 4x4 oak. It's got a lot of splitting and knots, etc. in it, but the piece I need is only 2.5 inches square, so I'm hoping I can cut most of the defects out. And of course, once the piece is turned, I only really need half of that. Start with a rough and gouge, obviously. I think I can get a piece out of that, I think. So by leaving the end square, I'm able to easily cut the piece in half on the bandsaw. All right, that ought to do it. Now it's onto the reeded sections. So these reeded parts, I don't have cutters that will work for this, so I'm just simply going to use a set of old cutters, grind a little reeding shape into those. So the way I go about this is to use a little bit of aluminum flashing, and that's going to be my template for these Euro cutters. So I'm just going to put that in the vise. It doesn't have to be super accurate at this point in time. Use a punch to punch 2 holes. The idea is that with the aluminum punched through those 2 locating pins, that it's now quite tight in how that goes onto that cutter. So now all I need to do is just trace around the cutter. Roughly right, and then I'll grind the first one and actually grind the aluminum at the same time, and that'll give me the exact profile that I want, and then simply take this off, put it on the other one, and I should be able to grind them identical. I've got a thing of water here because I want to try and keep the steel as cool as I possibly can, and I'm just going to slowly work my way around this. Okay, so there you go. That's sort of what we're after. I'll just do the other one and yeah, we'll be ready to go. Hey, welcome back. So, just got interrupted by dinner and sleep and a bit of a run, and went and picked some huckleberries this morning, which was really, really nice. If you've never had huckleberries, they're a bit like blueberries, I guess, but more tart in their flavor and absolutely delicious. The next thing I'm going to do is work on the curved reeded sections. So I'm just going to mill up some oak for that. So for the reeded pieces, I'm just going to dress a piece of oak down to roughly 1/2 inch and wide enough that I can get both pieces from the one board. I'll just use a scrap piece of wood to mark the radius that I want each piece to be and cut those out on the bandsaw. Being a one-off, I'm really not spending a bunch of time getting it dead on and simply sanding the edges to the line that I marked. Lots of technical issues here, trying to get this bloody thing done, and the mic keeps stopping or whatever, I don't know. Anywho, I was probably just waffling on about how I find these battery brad nailers really quite good to use. So I've now got that nailed up, and I was also talking about how I can't foresee myself using this jig more than the once. I'm sure I will hold on to it for years to come and probably never use it, but anyway, I'm not spending a lot of time on it just simply because of the fact that I don't see myself using it more than this one time. So. Gotta keep telling myself it's just one job. That's pretty nice. Okay. Okay, so let's just see what that looks like. For each reed, I need to lower the cutter, which in this case is 10 millimeters. You can see here how, as I'm running the pieces through, they tend to be a little bit jerky. That's because the pieces aren't really perfect. The jig's certainly not perfect. If I was doing more of these, I would absolutely set things up so that everything is more accurate. But in this situation where I'm just doing 2 pieces, then this is going to be good enough, and any little imperfections I'll sand out by hand. So there you have it. A couple of reeded pieces. I've got to just clean up this edge. Paper, back sandpaper does tend to tear a lot for this sort of thing, so yeah, cloth back carborundum or something similar is a good option for this. I think I've said this before, but remember, this is a one-off, and we are aiming for excellence, not perfection. It doesn't have to be perfect. There's nothing else to compare it to, so, you know, as long as it looks right to the eye, it is right. Whether or not the reeds are exactly the same or whatever from one side to the other, doesn't matter if it looks right. So just keep that in mind, especially when you're doing, you know, one-off stuff. You know, if it's something that you're doing for yourself for home and stuff, yeah, maybe you want to chase that sort of perfection. But if you're in this game to make money, you can't be a perfectionist. You got to spend the time to get things as good as they can possibly be, where it's needed, and, you know, move forward on the rest of it, if that makes sense. So, you know, if it's a piece of furniture and stuff, all the stuff that you see and feel and touch, you know, all has to be right. And for the rest, like if there's a bloody knothole that's not filled or something underneath the table that you're never going to see, don't spend the time doing it. So, all right, so I've now cut one side to the angles that I am after, and that looks right. So obviously this one is going to be a mirror image of that. So I'm going to just put that on there. And mark that. Just give these ends a little bit of a sand, just to take the sharp edges off. Get this one done and then pop them on, and then there's just one more thing to do, and that is to make a little sort of crown molding, if you will. Okay, so this crown, when I run it, I'll have it in the machine. I'll tilt the spindle over because I want a 90 degree at the back. important here to get a good amount of glue here, as the end grain does tend to soak it up quite a lot. And that's, you know, actually something you want. You really want that end grain to soak it up, because that will actually create a much stronger joint. Doing this kind of work, you really have to love sanding. Okay. Maybe that's not entirely true. You don't have to love sanding at all, actually. You just have to do it, though. Because there is no getting away from the fact that you have to take your machine marks out. To use the light to look at something and see whether you've got it, you know, sanded smooth or not. That looks smooth to me, but of course as soon as you feel it, I can feel a bump there. Your fingers are so sensitive, and so you know, while it might look right, just make sure that you run your fingers over it. Actually, now I get it in the light the right way, I can see the bump there. So use your fingers to run over things and make sure that it's smooth. I think that is good. Time to put this stuff on the door. What's that fan? Ah, the joys of working alone. Eh? Just marking out where these parts all go. Try and get them all looking symmetrical. Mark exactly where this is going so that I don't mess this up. Good, just the right amount of squeeze out. Just going to turn the gun on first. Oh, it's a bit noisy. last little bit of bling for the top rail. Nice. Now obviously if this were going to be stained, this door, I'd be a lot more careful with my glue squeeze out, and any glue squeeze out I would be cleaning it up with a damp cloth. So come down a 1/4 inch off the top of the rail. So what I'm going to do is put plenty of glue on it. So I don't want this coming off. And we'll actually, I'll actually screw it on as well, just with some trim head screws. Brilliant. Screws with trim head screws. They're so good. Again, on this little end grain section, make sure that we get plenty of glue. I'm just going to spread it out this time with my finger just to make sure that I've got really good coverage. Should hold that. Same on this end. So these trim head screws are amazing little screws for both holding stuff down, but also they don't tend to split the material much. But I really can't afford to take the chance of this splitting, so I'm going to actually drill a very small pilot hole. Okay. Clean the glue. In this weather, this glue is drying fairly fast. All right, so we'll let that dry, which should take in this weather about 30 seconds, maybe a little more, and yeah, sand everything off, and we'll get it primed, and then we can start painting. Wow, you're still here. Thank you very much for sticking with the video and watching it right through till the end. For those of you who are still here, I have a question for you. I'm calling the little turned piece that I put on the top rail like a half finial, I guess. But to be honest, I really don't know what to call it. If there's anyone out there that does know what it actually is called, then please let me know in the comment sections below. If you're not already subscribed and you want to see more of this content, please hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss any of it, and by all means leave comments below and let me know what you would like to see more of. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.